Welcome to the Family First Retirement Podcast with George Politarhos. For more information, visit betrayawealth.com. Now, let's get to the show.
I saw a fascinating study that said a lot of American adults feel like because of all the numbers they've seen, all the talking heads, the economists, they now feel like that they, and I say they, we need at least $1.9 million to retire successfully and comfortably. And unfortunately, what a lot of us do is we see that number and we look at where we're at now and we go, I'm never going to get there. They throw their hands in the air and they just get frustrated and they don't even think about putting a plan together. How hard is that? How frustrating is that for you, George, when you have these adults come to that Eeyore attitude of, oh, well, I guess I'm never going to get there?
It's sad because, Mark, I like this analogy. Do you want your house to look just like your neighbor's house next door?
Not at all.
Of course not. That's why we're different. And your retirement and what you need for retirement are different. Maybe, you need $1 million or 1.9, whatever the article says. But in reality, who's not to say the talking heads say there's 5 million or there's 200,000? It's all different on everyone's situation because we are unique animals. And the problem that we have so many times when people start thinking they have to have this magical number, I need X, what do? They take a lot of undue risk. They're more conservative, but now, oh my gosh, I only have $800,000. I have to have 1.5 million. We need to be more aggressive in retirement planning. And then you have a downturn in the market, or you have a problem, and now we're from 800 to 700. You have to remember, folks, when you come into the office here at 501 Silverside Road, you get your customized retirement plan. Not that big box mentality where you're 60 years old, this is the plan for you, and they slide you down the line. Because I am not like Angie. Angie's not like me or Achilles or Mark. We're all different, unique people. That's right. And we have to have the plan to fit our needs, our wants, and our desires. The biggest problem we have is we want to be like the Joneses. You're not the Joneses. Stop thinking you are. And to be honest with you, Mark, if people haven't picked the phone up and called us at 302-330-2166, my question is, what are you waiting for? You waiting for that month before retirement and, oh goodness, we're behind the ball, we made mistakes? Because if you do that, you're making a terrible injustice to your retirement, more importantly, to your family's retirement. Mm-hmm. It's time to pick up the phone, give us a call, 302-330-2166, and let's address the issue. Let's see where you are, where you're going, and how we can get you to the right place. If you've saved $200,000 or more for retirement, whether it's a managed fund, money market, CD, TSP, 401k, call us, 302-330-2166, and let's take the next step to getting to where you want to be. And that's to someplace you've worked so hard for, and that's into the golden years in retirement.
That's right. It's your life's work. It's your money. 302-330-2166. Always available at betrayawealth.com. There, you can see the services, schedule that appointment online. You can also meet the team at the Betray Wealth Group. Of course, George Politarhos, Achilles, Jared, Ernie Callias, the in-house CPA, and our very special guest this weekend, Miss Angie Politarhos, is joining us. How are you doing?
Hello, how you doing? Pleasure to be here.
It's great to hear your voice as always. Want to spend a couple of minutes this weekend talking about open enrollment, and there's a lot of confusions, a lot of questions, but this is your space. This is where you do a lot of your work at the Betray Wealth Group, Angie. So let's start at the very beginning. For those just getting started, what is the difference between Medicare and Medicaid?
Medicare is based on age. Medicaid is based on income. That's basically the two differences. Medicare, you have to meet a certain criteria to be able to start Medicare. And that is, number one is you have to be a permanent resident of the United States or an American citizen. If you live in the United States, if you're a resident, you have to be in the United States for a minimum of 5 years. Or you have to be 65 years of age to apply for Medicare, or you have to be under the age of 65 collecting Social Security disability and have received Social Security disability income for a minimum of 24 months. Or you have to have stage renal disease and apply for Medicare. That's the criteria for Medicare.
That's Medicare.
So Medicare. Medicaid is based on income. So it's basically for lower income people, and that we would apply for Medicaid for you. But Medicare is for the majority of Americans that are aging into 65.
That is so confusing. Mm-hmm. I just heard Angie say you have to be this. or you have to be this, or you have to be that. All these different things. And I do this every day. That's why I always go to Angie for this. It's confusing, Mark.
Yeah.
It takes you off guard. And this is not just open enrollment, right, Angie?
No, this is all year round.
All year round.
Continuously all year round, right? Because people, when they turn 65 or they prepare, you have 7 months to sign up for Medicare if you're not working. I mean, if you're working, there's different rules. So there's so many different rules out there that you really need to sit down with somebody like in our office and just go over everything and see where you're at. Sometimes you're not ready you're working and you shouldn't sign up for Medicare, or you should wait. There's all different rules that apply to Medicare and Medicaid.
So when you sign up for Medicare, there's two parts of Medicare, right? A and B.
Correct.
A, if I understand correctly, is 3 months before your 65th birthday. You sign up for Part A, whether you're working or not.
Yes, but if you're working and you have health savings plan and you sign up for Medicare Part A, you're not permitted to contribute to that anymore. So that's a rule that you want to look at if you're in the health savings plan, because you would not be able to do that any longer. So normally, majority of people don't have the the health savings plan. So you should sign up for Medicare Part A, because as long as you work the 40 quarters, which is 10 years, you get that for free, folks. So while you're working and you have credible coverage through your employer, sign up for it. Unless, again, if you have the health care, the health savings plan. And then while you're still employed, do not sign up for Medicare Part B, because right now the cost is $174.70. Why pay for it when you have credible coverage and you're still working? You should wait till you retire. Or some people look at it and say, you know what, my coverage from work is not good. Let's sit down and compare them, and we'll sit down, we'll look over everything, and you make an educated decision. You may say, I want to stop my coverage through work and sign up for Medicare Part A and Part B and get the additional coverages that I need.
Angie, how often do you have somebody come in, sit down with you, you start going over the options, and they realize, wow, I've been doing this completely wrong from the beginning. I just needed a second set of eyes. How often does that happen?
About every day.
Yeah.
I don't want to be smart.
She's right.
I don't want to be smart, folks, but it's like every day, because it is very overwhelming. There's so many different rules. There's so many little tricks. So that's one thing that we do with our clients when they come in, is part of what we do to prepare for retirement and look at their package. We include that all in there for them. So we look at all the options. Sometimes it's the best option to stay with what you have. Sometimes it's the best option to move. So we look at and we compare them side by side. We look at the costs, the cost factors, what everything costs, what the benefits are, and then you can make an educated decision of which way you want to go.
It sounds to me like this is not a DIY where they go on YouTube and Google it and say, oh, this is the plan to go, right?
Absolutely not. No, you cannot do that. Yes.
So you need to call 302-330-2166 and schedule that time to come in and sit down and talk to Angie, because she's going to break it down. She just went through 10 exceptions about why you do something and not do something else. And, we always talk about taking the gray out of retirement, how we make it black and white. Here's a prime example. Because making the wrong mistake and choosing the wrong plans and options, I think, would be a costly endeavor for people, Angie.
Very, very costly. Heading into retirement, the medical part of your life, which is the end of our life, folks. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but it is
reality.
The average adult, the woman, spends about $250,000 in medical expenses into retirement, where the man spends about $235,000. Why does a man spend less? Because he dies sooner than the woman. So we will spend that amount of money. So it's so important. When we look at it, we look at your financial situation, we look at where you're at and where you're heading, and then we give you, there's so many choices to make and decisions to make for you to assist you, so that we can alleviate some of these expenses heading into, the later years of your life by making the right decision when you're retiring.
Talking to Angie Politarhos, one of the great team members of the Portray Wealth Group. And when did you realize this is going to be my sweet spot when I'm customizing and helping build plans? Why you? Why this path?
Well, really, because the guys didn't want to do it.
That's nail on the head.
To be honest with you. And you know what? I had a sick husband for a lot of years, folks. And, I really got into it because I was looking for what was the best for us as a couple, what worked for us. So I really got into it to find out the wheres and the whys. And, I got educated in that respect because of the cost factors. And there's really a difference because there's Medicare Part A and Part B. Then there's Medicare Part C. What is Part C? That's making the determination if you want a Medicare Advantage plan or you want a supplemental plan. And then there's the Part D, which is the drug plan. The Part D, the drug plan comes with, in the Medicare Advantage plan, it's usually in a package within the Medicare Advantage plan. In the supplemental plans, it's something separate that you have to buy. So a lot of people will just say to you, I'm going to sell you a supplemental plan. They don't even bother selling you a drug plan. And they don't tell you that if you don't have a drug plan with a supplemental plan, there is a penalty. There's penalties. The government will charge you penalties if you don't sign up in a certain time frame, if you don't have a drug plan. Now, you could go 10 years. We had somebody a couple months ago come in. They didn't have a drug plan. They had a supplemental plan, and he wanted, oh my God, now I realize that my drugs are expensive. Well, he had $166 a month penalty against him each month because he didn't have a drug plan. And then the drug plan was $12 a month. So there's so many different rules out there that you really, we want to look at everything. So when you come into our office, we look at the whole package, we look at your drugs, we write them down, I can tell you how much your drugs are going to cost you, in the plan that you pick, and what your out-of-pocket expenses are going to be if you were to get a supplemental plan. Or if in the Medicare Advantage plan, the same thing, exactly it's going to cost you.
People have health insurance through their employer right now. And every year during open enrollment with their employer, I can change plans. So I can go, if my employer offers a high deductible, low deductible, I can change my plan. If I go with Medicare Advantage or a Medicare supplemental plan, can I change my plans every year?
Yeah, we have open enrollment, which is coming up right now, folks, which is October 15th through December 7th. So what do? We look at everybody's plan of what they're signed up with now, and we see, is that plan going to stay the same? Is it going to change? Where are you at health-wise? Okay, so that's another factor that we look in. So if somebody comes into our office and we see that basically they're sickly, we would definitely recommend a supplemental plan.
If they could afford it.
If they can afford
Right.
it. Sometimes they don't want to. George and I had a customer that said, absolutely, I'm not going to pay that money. And, 2 months later, he got diagnosed with all kinds of issues. Comes in 6 months later at open enrollment, says, I want to change to a supplemental plan. What happens is when you have that one, you sign up for your insurance when you turn 65 or whatever age that is, say it might be 67, you're working to 67. You have that one-time opportunity to go into a supplemental plan without underwriting. Now, 2 years down the road, if you have a Medicare Advantage plan and you want to go to a supplemental plan, you have underwriting. If there's 5 questions, if you answer yes to any of those first 5 questions, they will not put you into a supplemental plan. So then you're stuck in a plan that you have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses, folks. So it's very important to know, the positives and the negatives about both plans, so that you can make the best decision for you.
You said open enrollment is October 15th through December the 7th. But I've also heard of initial enrollment. What's the difference between an open enrollment and initial enrollment?
Initial enrollment is when you're actually coming of age to get your first insurance. Well, that might be one of the, turning 65. You might be 70 and still working and have coverage through your employer. That would be initial enrollment for you. Okay, it might be 67. Whatever age it is that you're going to give up your insurance through your employer and sign up for Part A and Part B and get Medicare insurance. That's considered your initial enrollment period, folks.
Didn't we talk about prescriptions changing for something with that?
Yeah, Plan D is really a great thing because what's been happening thus far, and it's really not fair to Medicare people. When we sit down with people and I go over the drugs, they say, well, through my employer, I pay $10 for this drug and now it's going to be $90. The rules have changed entirely. They're not the same for Medicare people, okay? I'm not saying that they're fair. I totally disagree with them, but they have done one great thing heading in 2025. They max out at $2,000. So no matter what your drugs cost you, it could be $10,000, they max out at $2,000 and then it's 100% free. Used to have the donut hole, I think it was $8,500, don't quote me on that amount, and then it was free. Now it's $2,000, which is feasible for people that are in retirement because you're on a fixed income, folks. So It's very important to know, what's the worst scenario for me, what it's going to cost me for my drugs for the year.
So when we meet with people, we put that into your Family First Retirement Plan.
Yes.
We're accounting for this. Because you're retired, it's time to make sure we're on the right step. When you call us at 302-330-2166 or go to Patria, P-A-T-R-I-A, wealth.com, we'll go through that with you. Angie will sit down and lay it out to the penny what you're going to pay on a monthly basis. When she does the Family First Retirement Plan, you're going to see how it's going to affect you today, tomorrow, and Angie can attest to this with my brother-in-law, Spanky. If they did not have a good insurance for him, and he was older than Angie, that would have bankrupted them possibly, financially strapped them. These are things you have to be aware of. And we don't want to talk fear because we're here to make sure we understand it's educational, informative. That way you can take the next step to making the right choice for you and your family. But you need the right information. This is not go onto YouTube or Google and see what the answer is because you're not the Joneses. We always talk about that.
Right.
And that's what Angie does so well. She makes sure that the plan fits you, not your brother, not your sister, not your next door neighbor, not the guy down the street who you don't like. Make sure you get the plan that fits your wants, needs, and desires, and more importantly, your budget. We just talked about having what, Mark? 1.9 million is the magical retirement number
That's
up there?
What people feel like, yeah.
These are things that you can't go by that what you heard on the street, the water cooler talk. You need the expert to explain to you where you're at, what you're doing, and to make sure we're making the right step. So call us at 302-330-2166, and let's schedule your no-cost, no-obligation meeting to get these questions answered along with the proper planning process. What to do, where you're going to go, how are we going to live in retirement, and most importantly, are we going to have the retirement we want so badly? And quite honestly, you deserve it. Yeah. But it starts with you calling us, 302-330-2166, or go to Patria, P-A-T-R-I-A, wealth.com.
Angie, what should adults nearing retirement, what should they be doing right now?
You should be writing down all the questions that you have. You should be preparing, write down and all your drugs, what the dosages are, and then, give us a call. I'm not saying, we are different than everybody else out there because we look at the whole package for our clients. So, whatever works best for the client is what we're going to do. We'll give your suggestions and, put it out there for you. Tell you what the rules are, what the regulations are, what the penalties are, and then you can make the decision of what you want to do. Sometimes people don't have a choice. They have to go with a certain plan, and that it has to work for them. But most of the time, the customer has a choice of which way they want to go. So we're here to help them get to that point.
That is such a great response. Write down your questions. Because how many people come in and sit down and they go, I was driving around this weekend. I'm listening to the show. I had all these great questions. Hey, it's good to meet you. I totally forgot what I was going to ask you then. Man, that's such a great
happens
response.
to us more often than not, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. It does. So what's one of the biggest mistakes that you see, Angie? What do you find that people need the most help with?
I think most people that are still employed are not aware that they do not have to sign up for Part A and Part B while they're still employed through work. Because it's $174.70 for Part B. It's a simple phone call. Do I have to have it? What do I do? We fill out a form. We go on the site with them. We fill out the forms with them. When it's time for them to participate and get Part B and Part A, we apply for the paperwork for them because you cannot get insurance without having your Medicare card, folks. Even applying for it, it takes up to a month and a half. They say a month, but I tell you, it takes like 2 months. So they say, well, I applied, yes, but you don't have the card. So you're not in the system. So we could go and get the insurance and it's going to be pushed out because they have no record of you. We have to apply for the proper documentation. And when we apply, we have to prove to them that you have credible coverage. So they're the first most important things. Then when you have credible coverage, if you're a federal employee, you can keep your insurance. Do you want to keep it is another story. So that's why we show you side by side what is the best plan for you, what the costs are and what the expenses are. If you're in the regular job market, most companies, when you retire, you cannot carry your insurance with you into retirement, the majority of them. That's why you have to sign up for Part A and Part B and get insurance, Medicare insurance.
Can people who mistakenly sign up for Part A and Part B, after they talk to you, realize they don't need Part B? Can they cancel it?
Yes, we can call and
get
then,
it reversed?
And get it reversed. Now,
do I get a refund?
I haven't seen anybody get a refund, but
Of course not.
I can't say that they don't give you a refund. I don't want to say something that's untrue.
Sure.
So we can just request that they, stop it.
Did we miss anything? Did we cover everything? Is there anything else you need to let the audience know?
Hey, folks, the only thing I want to let you know is just please, we take the time and we want the opportunity to serve our customers. We want to give them, put everything on the table for them and let them have the opportunity to make their choices. So please give us a call and we will assist you in any way possible to get you to the point that you know where you're at and where you're heading.
And by the way, great job this weekend. I know you were nervous about joining us on this show.
She did a great job.
Thanks.
I just gave her a big thumbs up.
Yeah, Angie, remind us again, what is it like working with your brother?
It's a nightmare. No,
Hey,
no, it's great. It's great. He's my baby brother, so I raised him. Now he's my boss. How does that sound? Doesn't seem fair, does it? But it is. That's okay.
Man,
you know what?
Life comes at you fast.
Life comes at you
Too
fast.
fast.
Right? Too fast. That's okay.
I love
He
it.
does a great job, and I love him.
Insurance and annuities offered through George A. Politarhos, Delaware Insurance License Number 1373121. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties.